Hello and welcome once again to the Cup Experience, our pre-race show covering all the details of the 36th America's Cup. This is show number 4 of the Prada Cup Challenger Selection Series. After this weekend, the winner will go on to the finals. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson, broadcasting here in the U.S., and I'm joined by Jack Griffin of the Cup Experience in Switzerland. And Jack, if this event has done anything, it has kept us questioning. We are only one weekend into the regatta, and already it's been a total roller coaster.
Tucker, the word for this America's Cup so far is surprises. I mean, we came out of the America's Cup World Series with INEOS Team UK totally winless and looking really slow. They spent 3 weeks in the shed. They made amazing changes to their boat. They're undefeated now. The Italians, on the other hand, they've had kind of an up and down. They've showed moments of brilliance. They've struggled with some technical issues on their boat, but they're at 2-2. So, you know, they're in it. And this weekend is going to determine whether they or INEOS go on to the Prada Cup final. Now, American Magic came into this whole thing as the bookie's favorite, you know, starting off. If you were going to bet, you're going to bet on American Magic. They haven't won a race, and they've wound up with a broken boat. I mean, boy, the hard luck kids in this round.
Definitely the hard luck kids. No one expected to see them flip, least of all American Magic's crew. And of course, a hole in the hull had them almost sinking live on television in front of the world watching. Tonight, we're going to have an update, an exclusive interview with Terry Hutchinson. But first, we begin with the sponsor 60. 60 seconds to thank the companies that make the Cup Experience possible, beginning with Mount Gay Rum, the sailor's rum and the official rum of American Magic. Check out our new video with Mount Gay in Barbados. It's here on YouTube and on Facebook. Then order your own rum at drizzly.com and send us your America's Cup watch party photos with Mount Gay Rum. We'll put you right into the shows. We'd like to thank C-Deck Adhesive Foam Decking, which will literally transform the deck of your boat. It did for mine, and of course it has for American Magic as well. Special thanks to AkzoNobel and All Grip Fast Finishes. American Magic's finished with the All Grip Next Generation Top Coat called HDT, and it's clearly fast. And Robba and Birking Silver, the American Magic Collection. Cocktail tumblers, bottle coasters, serving trays, and much more, all with the American Magic logo. Jack knows more about it. You can ask him or go to americanmagic.cupexperience.com to order some for yourself. And finally, Pellini Coffee, the official coffee supplier of New York Yacht Club American Magic, with its Pellini Top 100% Arabica Espresso. Pellini Coffee, keeping American Magic energized. You can find it online at Amazon.com. So thanks to all the sponsors of the Cup Experience. Let's get right into it. I feel like we've been covering this regatta for a month, but it's only been 3 days, the first weekend. Here is a look at the highlights of how the first 3 days of racing went down.
The road to the 36th America's Cup has taken racing into new territory. Boat speeds of 30 to 40 knots are the new normal, but the intensity has taken everyone by surprise. Few had anticipated the roller coaster of changing fortunes. In just 3 days of racing for round robin 1 and 2, the tables had turned once again. After the opening race of round robin 1, INEOS were the talk of the town with their dominant win over American Magic. Just 2 weeks earlier, they were struggling to finish.
It feels a little bit better than 6 losses or whatever it was. So, yeah, we left a little bit late, but managed to find the pace when it counts on time in this breeze.
A second victory against Rossa, then a third over American Magic again. The British were on a roll. But so too was American Magic, in the opposite direction. After the America's Cup World Series, many saw them as the favourites in the Challenger camp. They knew their boat was fast, but now any signs of that had disappeared. In the first 2 days of round robin 1 and 2, it was loss after loss. First to INEOS, then to Rossa, before losing again to the British. Something had changed, but no one knew what.
We got to just stay patient, trust in ourselves, trust in our team, which we do, and keep chipping along. There's a lot of meat left on this bone, so we're going to keep fighting.
Meanwhile, Rossa Prada Pirelli sat in the middle, confident in their light winds performance and building on their capabilities in stronger winds. Were the Italians the new Dayton?
They've done a fantastic job, really. The boat was always with enough power to pump, to take off, so I'm very proud of the team today.
With such dramatic change in fortunes on either side of them, it was hard to tell. Or perhaps both Luna Rossa and INEOS had stepped up a gear and left the Americans behind. And then, in the last race of round robin 2, drama. American Magic had found their feet. They were just one leg away from beating Luna Rossa, one leg away from a point, one key manoeuvre from restoring their form.
40 seconds before we tacked, it was blowing 12.5 knots of wind. And when we tacked to bear away, it was blowing 23.5 knots of wind. And when you look at the wind graph, the time from 18 knots to 23 knots is about 3 seconds. Down the back stays eased, but then the next thing that happens there is the main sheet gets eased, and that loads into the leeward runner. That's not the reason that the boat tipped over. It was a combination of a couple things that led up to that moment. We're going to do whatever it takes, and that's what we've done from the get-go. There has never been a waiver in the commitment being from Doug and Hap and Roger and the New York Yacht Club or from our team members. I mean, we're all in this together. We're going 47 knots or something, and there's transverse structure inside the boat, and then there's a longitudinal structure. And so the boat, when you look at it in slow-mo, popped quite a wheelie. The leeward foil came out of the water, and we got a reasonable amount of bow altitude up. And when the boat slammed down, it's fine if it slams flat on its keel, but when you land on the side on the flat panel, basically the structure inside the yacht just guillotined the panel. In seriousness, it'll be a big effort to get the boat to go sailing for the semis, and we have a realistic timetable. We have great support from the Auckland maritime and boat building community to help us. We've had great support from all the teams. Everybody has offered up their services to get Patriot back on the water. I think what we're going to see over the next 8 to 10 days is the boat get rebuilt, and she might not come out of the shed as pretty, but she's going to come out of the shed, and we're going to get back into racing.
The first round of the Prada Cup had left two teams in a race against each other, and one racing the clock.
Well, the entire sailing world, certainly fans of American Magic, were in shock last weekend as Patriot rounded the final windward mark ahead of Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli. They had finally found their form. They were out in front, looked to win the race, and then disaster struck. Jack, it was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch, and don't be surprised by the surprises.
Well, now let's revisit the capsize in a bit more detail. This is from ACTV with commentators Ken Reed and Nathan Outeridge as they analyze what happened.
Is how it unfolded.
Okay, so I started seeing the bottom of the jib flapping there, and all of a sudden you see a little foam on the water, a little spray coming off the water. It's like, oh boy, this looks really windy right now all of a sudden. And see that spray blowing away really hard, really fast? But Nathan's exact. Look at everything's luffing, everything's flooded. Oh, the leeward running backstay
is still on.
The leeward running backstay stays on, and it's hooked up against the mainsail. They can't let that mainsail out. The leeward runner is still tight. The leeward runner never got released.
The leeward runner is the thing that keeps the rig in check, and the thing we keep talking about. Luna Rossa want to get rid of them. You see the main looks like it's pinned on, so it's hard up against that leeward runner.
Wow. The leeward runner looks like it didn't release, and oh my God, the boat turned sideways.
So essentially an inability to release pressure on the mainsail and say, pop, you're over.
Sure is what it looked like to me. Nathan and I both picked it up. The mainsail was kind of pinned. Big curvature right around that shroud that goes towards the top of the mast.
So the last thing we want to see is a boat capsizing, but the most important thing is that all crew was safe and well, and now it's all about recovering the asset and getting ready for next week.
What a way to finish. Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli have picked up a second point on the back of American Magic's capsize, still searching for their first win. So disaster for American Magic. They hand what was looking to be a certain win to Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, just when you thought you'd seen it all. The teams will now take a well-earned rest, but the flying monohulls will be back in action in a couple of days. The race for the Prada Cup is far from over.
Well, Jack, it was shocking. It was scary to watch. Certainly even scarier to be on board. You heard Ken Reed and Nathan Outteridge talk about the lured runner, which was tight as they went through that barrowway. But that wasn't the only thing that led to the capsize, was it?
You know, no, it certainly wasn't. This is a complex boat to sail, and I don't think that anybody can really tell us exactly what happened there. You heard Terry say 47 knots, more speed, more lift. That's what helped to launch the boat. A lot of things going on there. The gust hit them. Very, very complex boats, very tough to sail. I think it was much more than just the lured runner.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things, and you heard Terry Hutchinson allude to it in the press conference. A lot of different things in their debrief probably went into preventing this, which is what we all want. All the teams don't want to see this happen to any of them moving forward. And fortunately, everyone was safe. Everyone was okay. Now, I'm sure many of you saw all the media coverage around the world of that spectacular capsize and the recovery thereafter. But we had a chance just a day ago to touch base with the skipper and executive director of American Magic, Terry Hutchinson, for an exclusive personal account of that dramatic event. All of us watched in shock as the incident last Sunday occurred, and I want to tell you that the recovery efforts that we saw, and personally your handling of it in the press, has been nothing less than extraordinary.
Thanks, Tucker. You know, it's obviously a road bump along the way to what we need to do, and I think there were a lot of really great things on display on Sunday afternoon and evening, and
in a way, this incident has kind of brought the entire global sailing community together behind American Magic. How inspiring and motivating has that been for you?
Well, it's awesome. Obviously, you know, I mean, we feel the support of the New York Yacht Club and of our membership. We feel the support of sailors worldwide, and most importantly, we feel the support of our team and our families here. And so, you know, it's a great spot to be in. I'd be lying to you if I said I wish we hadn't had to do that to them, but but we did. And what was on display and the level of sportsmanship that's been on display in the last week really is exemplary for all of us.
Terry, as you know, everybody watching, most everybody will never have a chance to sail on a boat like this, let alone capsize one. Put us in your shoes for a moment. You're down to leeward. You've gone around the mark. What happens next?
You know, the whole moment really was, from my perspective, it doesn't really didn't feel really unnatural. It didn't feel like anything extraordinary when we went to bear away. We got hit by a reasonably mid-20-ish puff that it was going to be a difficult one to execute, all things considering. So you heard through the comms that Dean was losing the rudder, and you knew at that point that it was going to be that we were going to have a bit on. And then the boat did a reasonably large bang, and over she came. And because I'm on the port side of the yacht, at that point I'm thinking about my exit strategy. And from there, it's about getting out of the boat safely and making sure that the team, that Cooper, Sicho, and Tim, who were in front of me on the port side, and Dino, who was right behind me, that we're all out of the boat safely. And so once we managed our way through that, then it became a rescue operation of PATRIOT, to which the team and the surrounding teams and the community around us responded brilliantly to.
During that recovery, Terry, as you guys are rescuing to keep the boat afloat, was there a specific moment that went through your mind where you thought, this might not go well, this boat could be going down, and that might be the end of things for PATRIOT?
Yeah, I think when Geese hoisted the orange buoy to the top of the mast, I thought, well, maybe that's not a good sign. But once the boat was semi-submerged, and we had enough flotation attached to the bow and enough flotation attached to the transom, And then the Team New Zealand chase boat came in and got along our starboard side and clipped into the boat. At that point, I knew we had enough flotation around us to keep the boat afloat. And from there, it was just simply a matter of minimizing the damage to the hull and to the foils to get the boat into a spot where we could, in effect, put the pumps inside and start pumping the thing out. But, in all total, we ended up with 16 pumps inside the boat and a couple of, airplane raft type flotation devices underneath the bow and the Race J3 that we had up underneath the bow to plug the hole. And once all those things took effect, then the boat started to drain and we were able to get the water out.
Was there a moment where you exhaled and really took in the gravity of what just happened?
No, I'm not going to really, I'm not going to either. We're going to focus on getting the boat back out on the water and we're going to focus on winning 4 races in the semifinal. This is just another test of our resolve and of our team, of which I know we're going to pass this with flying colors because we've done it for the last 3 years.
There's a reason that you're leading this team, Terry, and I think that basically just answered it. There are many people that could have thrown in the towel and said, this is pretty insurmountable, but I love that you haven't even thought of it. That hasn't crossed your mind.
No. I think we should fight.
I love it. If you weren't impressed with Terry Hutchinson as a leader before, watching that interview and watching how he has handled both the capsize, the recovery, the repair, and the media and the press conference thereafter has been nothing less than honorable and exemplary. There's a reason he leads that team, and it's quite obvious. So, Terry Hutchinson, our hats off to you, and thanks for doing that interview, and good luck to you and American Magic in getting the boat back out on the water and back into winning form again. We want to also thank American Magic and America's Cup for the video footage and the photos in that interview. Jack, this photo to me speaks volumes. You heard Terry talk about the reaction from all the other teams, and here you see Peter Burling, the helmsman of Emirates Team New Zealand, the current winner of the last America's Cup, alongside an American Magic teammate and a few others, pulling as hard as they can to a line that's connected to the boat to try and keep it afloat. And the fact that you see Burling there with his virtually sleeves rolled up, there's some other footage of him cutting away a buoy, and just that everyone didn't hesitate to help save this boat. And they did save the boat. It was a pretty impressive show of sportsmanship, wasn't it?
Yeah, the sailing community is like that, and nobody wants to see your competitor knocked out like that. Really great show of sportsmanship from everybody involved here.
Yep. Now this next section is our new favorite, Jack, and I know it's your favorite. It's the Ask Jack section here in the Cup Experience, sponsored by Seahorse Magazine. Those of you that are watching can send a question to Jack on his website, cupexperience.com. Click on the homepage and click on the Ask Jack section, and we'll try to answer it in the next show. So, Jack, the first question, of course, the question that we need to address is, how do these boats capsize? More importantly, how are they righted, and how can we prevent it?
Well, Tucker, I'm not sure we're going to get to prevent it. And, American Magic is the story this week, but this could happen to any of the teams. And in fact, it has in training and with their test boats. Let's take, here's INEOS Team UK. They don't go over in this, but they plow the bow in. The boat heels over to windward, and they're lucky they didn't go over. In their mule or in their test boat, they flipped it, and that was a violent crash. Now watch, there it is again. That was the slow motion. These boats are tough to sail and very prone to accidents like this. Here, of course, is the footage that we have seen of American Magic coming around the top mark, going into this. Now, if you watch this, the boat starts to lift up, and watch the stern go down and the bow come up as they do the sky jump before going crashing down. How did that happen? How do you prevent it? Boy, I tell you, there's a combination of things that can go wrong. Mechanical problems can happen, crew errors can happen. You get an unlucky gust of wind at the wrong time. Nobody is immune to this. And in fact, the Defender was in a practice race with INEOS Team UK, and the week before the Prada Cup got started, here they are, they're behind INEOS, they've just come out of a jibe, they've crashed down, you can see the splash from the boat, and now as the footage starts, you'll see them start to get the boat back up, but while they do, what's happening is that they lose the rudder. The rudder loses its downforce, it comes up, and once you see that much of the rudder out of the water, you can bet that nothing good is going to happen next. And in fact, what happens is they plow the bow in, and over she goes. I guess the only thing that we can say about this at this point is they must have expected capsizes, because they sure did a nice job with the paint job on the bottom of their hull. Here's the same crash from Emirates Team New Zealand going over, shot from on board. Lucky that everybody was in the cockpits, they would have been launched. How do you get it back up on its feet? Remember when we saw the concept video about 2 years ago? Self-righting? Not quite. That's a great theory, but in practice what happens is they need to get a tow line on the boat, they need to get it pointed bow into the wind, they need to trim the main down and have the tender pull the boat into the wind with the main trimmed down, and then basically fly the boat up the same way you would do a water start with a windsurfer. American Magic, they had it. We've seen Team New Zealand go over, but you know, we've seen Luna Rossa. We haven't seen them go over yet, but we've certainly seen Luna Rossa launch themselves with one of these sky jumps. Spectacular maneuver, but boy, oh boy, a bit scary. And you know, our friends at Team New Zealand, even in the America's Cup World Series, they did a sky jump. Now, they didn't go over. After they splashed back down, they were able to get the boat back up on the foils for the rounding that they were just about to do. But you know, Tucker, these boats are at the bleeding edge, or maybe they're past the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's expect the unexpected here.
That's a fair point. They are past the edge of control, as evidenced by the Defender, the form team who led the design of this boat. They've capsized twice. American Magic now has capsized twice, and we all see the result. They're out of the competition with a broken boat. Is it a step too far, Jack?
You know, in the America's Cup, we've always been right at the edge of technology. You know, it's you talk about things in technology, we talk about being at the state of the art. Well, sometimes you get a little bit beyond the state of the art, and that's when things start to go wrong. With these boats, we could have a human error, ease the backstay, ease the mainsail, trim the main foils correctly. We can have a mechanical problem. I can't get my boards up or down the way I want to. We can have bad luck with nature. You get a big puff like happened to American Magic. There are lots of potentials for bad things to happen here. Let's not see any more capsizes, but unfortunately, don't be surprised if we do.
Well, and it seems that it was a combination of all three for American Magic. Human decisions that led to this, mechanical problems, and of course Mother Nature that hit them with a puff that at just the time that when they were bearing away through the power zone that led to this. And Jack, the one constant that I hear from you explaining all these capsizes, they all seem to start with the sky jump and the boat loses control. And whether it comes down and then capsizes or whether it stays in the air and starts to flip, in this case landing on its side, either way, we certainly hope that they can rectify this, or at least prevent it, try to prevent it moving forward in those windy conditions. The scores as a result, well, of course, New York Yacht Club American Magic at the bottom, still on 0 wins, 4 losses, and out for the next round this weekend. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli on 2 wins, 2 losses, and INEOS Team UK at the top, dominant. 4 wins, 0 losses, impressive. Here's a look at the last day of racing. We already know what happened with the capsize, so when you watch this highlight with Matt Sheehan, take a look at how the racing went between the British team and the Italians.
The final day of Round Robin 2 promised plenty of action, but few expected the drama that rolled out. A large wind shift to the west forced the first race between Luna Rossa and INEOS to be abandoned as the pair started lap 3. The The course was reset and the battle began once again. Each team took opposite sides of the course, but with each cross the racing stayed close. Just 10 seconds between them at Gate 1. At Gate 2 the margin was 7. Luna Rossa were holding the lead. At Gate 3 they were neck and neck, but then came the change. INEOS led by 26 seconds at Gate 4, a lead that they held to the finish. 4 wins from 4 starts.
Two things stand out as I watch that highlight, excluding the capsize. Number one, American Magic has found their speed again, and they were ahead. They were set to win that race. So they've shifted their momentum around. Hopefully they'll start where they left off next weekend. And number two, INEOS Team UK, they have proven impossible to beat. In that first canceled race against Luna Rossa, they were behind, but they were closing the gap when things went kind of haywire with that wind shift. But Jack, the second race that they won, they had to come from behind Luna Rossa to do it. I believe that's the first victory we've seen from a team that started behind and passed the competition, isn't it?
I think you're right. It's certainly not the first lead change we've seen in the America's Cup World Series. We saw, and we have continued to see, plenty of lead changes. So
no, just in the Prada Cup.
Okay, but expect the unexpected. We're seeing real racing. We're seeing lead changes. A come from behind win is a surprise, but it's not a surprise. This is going to be lots of drama all the way through this event.
I'm always impressed with a team that can do that in an event like this, and Ben Ainsley has been very good in all his racing career, coming from behind to snatch victory from defeat. Now, tonight we're going to see Luna Rossa sail against INEOS Team UK. Its start time is going to be at 4 p.m. local New Zealand, which means here in the U.S. the broadcast online will begin live at 10 p.m., not 9 p.m., and the big question is, can INEOS continue their winning streak? If they win this one race tonight, they're through to the finals, and we won't have to sail any more of the round robins. However, if Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli is victorious, then we will see racing tomorrow as well, and therefore we'll have another pre-race show tomorrow evening by 8 p.m. U.S. The start time, remember, is 4 p.m., so it's an hour later for the racing. If Luna Rossa can win both of those, there will be a tie between these two teams, and Luna Rossa would win the tiebreaker. The winner goes on straight to the finals. Next weekend is the semifinals. That's where American Magic will have a chance to get back into this competition to race against the loser of the round robins here tonight or tomorrow, one of those two teams, depending on how that goes. So, Jack, who will it be? Who will advance straight to the finals? Who will sail next weekend against American Magic? How do you think the Italians will do?
I think it's flip a coin here, to tell you the truth. The Italians have a completely different setup than anybody else. They've got 2 helmsmen, Jimmy Spithill on starboard, Francesco Bruni on port. When they're not steering, they're doing tactics and they're doing flight control. They've got their hands full, but those guys are talented and their boat's fast.
And good looking too. Now, INEOS Team UK surprised us all. I wonder if, honestly, their performance has surprised them, considering how things started last month. Do you think they can do it?
Oh, yeah, of course they can. They've got the great advantage of Ben Ainsley and Giles Scott, who has almost nothing else to do on the boat except call tactics, because he's been freed up. He's not on the handles at all, so he can keep his head out of the boat. Ben has always said all along, though, there's a lot of racing yet to come. We still have our work to cut out for us. I still think it's a toss-up. Let's see.
All right, and the weather this afternoon in New Zealand?
Yeah, 12 to 20 knots out of the southwest, probably somewhere in the middle of that range for most of the time. Should be great conditions for racing.
And that leads us to a revised race course location.
Yeah, in that last race, last weekend on Sunday, they were out on race course A. Now they're going to be, what Ian Murray is doing is he's treating race courses B, C, and D all as one big area, and he will set the course somewhere in those areas of B, C, and D for taking advantage of the wind, the current, and hoping to get it in close to shore for the spectators, but mostly making sure that he can set a fair race course.
Well, we know it's going to be exciting. It has been. This is only the second weekend of this competition. Jack, we're going to conclude our show with our typical tradition, our toast to the competitors. First, I've got a Mount Gay rum here with Regatta Craft mixers. Cheers.
Yeah. Well, I've got my espresso because it's a little bit late at night. But cheers to you and cheers to all of the teams out racing.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks to all of you for watching. The fourth day of the Prada Cup continues tonight, and we're excited to see it. I'm sure you guys are too. Once again, we hope you've enjoyed the Cup experience. We're going to broadcast every race day by 8 p.m., and we certainly hope you'll join us. Tell your friends. To comment and to join our mailing list, send me an email, tuckertlive@gmail.com, where you can also send us photos of your Mount Gay America's Cup watch parties, and we'll put you in the show. We want to hear from you. And we want to answer your questions too. You can like, follow, and subscribe, Facebook and YouTube, and Twitter @TuckerTLive. On Instagram, it's @TuckerThompson1. And visit cupexperience.com. Sign up for Jack's newsletter to learn more about the America's Cup. And remember to click on Ask Jack to send us your questions that we will answer here in the show. Well, that's another show here. We hope you've enjoyed it, the Cup experience. We want to thank you for watching, and we certainly hope you enjoy the racing tonight. We also want to thank all of the sponsors. For Jack Griffin over in Switzerland and Mason Sheen, our producer, director, I'm Tucker Thompson. Thanks once again for joining us on the Cup Experience.